Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be going over the installation / editing process of the Seller.Tools post-purchase ebook template. So essentially, when you get to the install page, it'll look something similar like this, and you'll have your kind of content types right over here on the left-hand side, and you can see the amount of flows that are being brought, which there are two. Normally there's only one, but in this case there's an email. And then you can see there's a growth tool as well as the app. You don't really have to take a look at this stuff, but you can if you want. So the next step is hit the install button. Now you're going to want to pick the page that you're going to want to be installing the templates onto. So I'm just going to pick this one. And the last step, which is the finalization process, you're going to, you don't necessarily need to do this, but I like to every single time is to take a look at what the bot fields as well as custom fields and tags and so on that are going to be merged onto the page already. So these are the bot fields that are going to be merged onto essentially the kind of template that, or the page that I'm bringing it to. Sorry about that. So as you can see, there are some bot fields that are being merged right over here. Now, whenever you have a bot field being merged, like a template field merging within a bot field already, it's actually not going to put the template fields onto the install template page. I don't know exactly how to describe that with a little bit more detail, so I'm just going to continue forward and I'll show you what I mean. So the last thing you want to do is just hit install now. And none of this stuff you actually need to worry if it merges. If it merges, it's actually fine, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you do install all three post-purchase flows, you'll actually be fine with them merging within each other because it's fine. Unless you were to use a different ASIN for every single individual insert card, then you would need to make sure that these do not merge amongst themselves. Okay, so let's hit install now. Now then, we're in the template page, right? And this is what I was talking about. So there are template fields. Now, template fields and bot fields are the exact same thing. The only difference is that the template fields will show up on your kind of template page right here. Now, right here is the kind of ebook link. Now, this is the link or the URL that you're going to be giving the users to the PDF file where you're probably storing your ebook. So again, this should be a clickable link that they can just click, and then it'll send them to kind of that PDF file. If you do not have that link, or your ebook isn't in kind of a PDF format where they can click a link, you're going to have to do that in order for these flows to successfully work and distribute ebooks to them effectively. So again, I'm just going to put example link because this is obviously just an example. But you just do, example, just put .com. Obviously, you'd want to put your ebook right here. That's a clickable link that they can get access to. The other bot fields you're going to want to make sure you edit are, so to get to the bot fields, it's very simple. You just hit click settings, then fields, bot fields. And the other one is review request, waiting period. And by default set to 1, but if you want to wait longer, you can do that. But I'm going to keep it to 1 just to make things a little simpler. And the other bot field you're going to want to edit is insert ASIN right here. And you're going to want to put the ASIN that you're going to verify that they've purchased with whatever insert card that it is. So theoretically, they should always have had purchased the right product, because if the insert card is with the product that you're verifying, then they should have obviously order the right product, because again, they kind of works that way. But this is just an extra protection just to make sure that they're ordering the proper product. And the last thing you're going to want to edit is Amazon history. It's at the top. Yeah, Amazon order history branded search. Now this here is just to make things a little simpler in terms of the users, when they are looking for their order number, you can actually give them a clickable link that'll send them straight to their order history page. And with a branded search, what it does is it sends them to that order history page, but it puts in the search query the branded name, and that basically filters out all of their orders with that specific brand name. So theoretically, they'll probably only have like one order from specific brand, right, from your brand hopefully, and that'll make it so it's much easier for them to find their order number. Again, this is optional because just sending them to the order history page, they should be able to identify what order they ordered from you, and then just find their order number. But if you want to simplify their life just a little bit more, you can obviously edit this to have a branded search, and I'll go a little bit more detail on how to do that when when I'm editing the flow itself. So, okay, the next portion that we want to do is we want to make sure the API keys are connected properly within ManyChat. So right here, what we're going to do is we want to go into settings, then we want to hit apps, and we scroll up slightly, then we hit Seller.Tools, and now this is where you're going to want your API keys. Now, as you can tell, I obviously don't have my API keys here, but what you're going to want to do is you sign into Seller.Tools, you go into API, and then there should be a tab with the keys. I'm not going to do that in this video recording, but again, there are a lot of video recordings going over how to connect your Seller.Tools account, right? You're getting your API keys and then putting it into ManyChat. So once you get those API keys, you just copy them and paste them right here, and then you would hit save, right? So there's a live and there's a test, so just bear that in mind. Okay, now that we're done kind of all that the starting stuff, the flow templates are going to be installed into a nice little folder right here. And again, you can obviously move this folder into another folder, or delete the folder if you'd like once you remove the flows from said folder. But yeah, it just by default it comes in a neat little folder, and again, you can change this to match your goals. Okay, so this is the first flow and this is the second flow. The email ebook is essentially the email that's going to be sent out with the clickable link to that ebook. And if you remember correctly, that we had the bot field that is actually linked to the ebook itself. So that's the link that they're going to be clicking. So let me go into the to the first kind of flow right here, and then we'll edit the email one a little bit later down the line. So now before I zoom into anything too close, you'll see that there are, like, it looks a little complex from this overview video, but it's not that complex when you really dive into it, because most of this is already done. Like you don't need to actually edit, and the things you do need to edit, you should have theoretically already done when you edited the bot fields. Now, if I do zoom in a little bit, you'll see that there are different comments right here. And essentially there are three comment types. You have the instructions, optional step, and the notes. The instructions is something you need to edit. The optional step is something you can edit, right? It's optional. And then the notes is something for you to consider, right? So for something for you to just take note of. So instructions is something you need to do. So the first thing you're going to want to look at right here is looking at the QR code as well as the ref URL if you want to add like a B link. Now, what I would recommend when you do these insert cards is that you actually make your QR code on a different platform where you can change the redirect link at any given moment. Just in case if something was to happen to your ManyChat account, you can change that redirect link to a new ManyChat account and just reinstall the templates and then edit it to match your goals there. This will just kind of bypass any of the problems you might have later down the line if you ever do get kind of suspended. Again, it's not ideal. Obviously, these are TLS compliant and you shouldn't have any problems, but you never know. Facebook could change, and then maybe one of the flows you've run in the past is not TLS compliant anymore, and the next thing you know, your page gets banned or suspended or something along those lines. This is just a precaution to make sure you don't do that. But if you are interested in just making a QR code within ManyChat, not doing that extra step, then what you could do is you just hit Edit Flow, and then at the start right here, right at the starting step, you can make the QR code right here. And then you could, put those QR codes into your insert cards or your product labels if that's how you're doing it. Again, I would recommend doing it the other way around, where you're making a QR code on a different platform where you can change the redirect link at any given moment. And then you can also use a URL shortener, so that way you can just have that on your insert card as well. So that way the users can just type in the URL shortener in their browser and then be brought straight to your flow as well. So that way it gives the users that are a little bit more advanced and they know how to scan a QR code the ability to scan that QR code. And then the people that may not be as advanced, but they still know how to operate a phone, they can just type in the URL shortener into their browser and then be brought straight to this flow. The other optional step right here, and I should have covered this before, but anyway, so this one right here is just letting you know that you can edit the scripts to match your branding, right? So if you wanted to edit any of the kind of wording inside ManyChat right here, right? I just call them scripts, but essentially it's just the wording inside Messenger. You can edit that very easily to whatever your heart's content is. Okay, the next thing right here is, and this is something I covered a little bit previously, is essentially the order ID or the order history branded search. Now, essentially this link, again, like I said, when they click this little button within Messenger, it'll bring them straight to their order history page. And you can actually have that link bring them straight to their order history page with a brand search, where it's like automatically going to filter out all the orders that have been bought with that specific brand in mind. So this makes it significantly easier for them to find the specific order that they're looking for, right? The specific order number that they're looking for. And this is the structure of the link that it's going to look like. So essentially, when you want to change it to brand name, you just change your brand name right here. So whatever your brand name would be. And anytime you have a space between, if you have a two-word brand name, then you would just put a plus instead of a space. So just bear that in mind, and you would just copy that kind of link, and then you would put it into the bot field right where I mentioned it previously in this video. Now, continuing along with that, and again, this isn't something you absolutely necessarily, I know it's an instruction, which is a little contradictory to what I said in the start, where it's like optional steps, something optional, but it's just really advised that you do this just to make it easier for the users to find their specific order number. But it isn't absolutely necessary. You can leave it be. And anytime you see that there's just like a white space where there's nothing here, that means you don't actually need to do anything. But again, if you feel like editing the scripts to match whatever your goals are, then you could definitely do that. Right here, this is an instruction steps. This is something we need to do. So this one here just says make sure that the Seller.Tools action node is connected properly. So that all that is just you click it and you click this, and then you make sure that it's connected to the right API. Right, so it's connected to the live API right here. So you just click live API and you hit save. That means it's properly done right there. And this is just to confirm that you're connected to the right API connection, right? Because if you do have more than one API connection, right, you can have multiple groups inside the Seller.Tools app. You want to make sure that it's connected to the proper one. And that's why these instruction steps are here. Theoretically, you don't actually need to go in there and check every single time, but I would advise you do just to make sure. So I'll just do that with you. Then you save. So the first action right here is it actually checks the blacklist to make sure that the order number that they've given isn't already on your blacklist. So it checks to see, okay, is that order number already on the blacklist? No. Okay, then they continue down the line. If it's yes, then it says, okay, it looks like you've already gotten the ebook. And this is just to confirm that people don't get ebook more than once. And you can theoretically just say like, yeah, you know what, I don't think this is worth checking, and just, get them to re-go in. Down the line, if they want to get the ebook twice, then they can do that. But ideally, you probably want to stop them from getting it more than once, because then it'll start the email sequence again and again. If they've done it more than once, it'll start it again. By this, the way it's set up now, there's not really any email follow-ups. But if you wanted to do like an email sequence where, like, day one's, or I guess day zero, right? As soon as they opt in, they get the ebook. Day one, they get a promotional thing. Day two, they get like some type of content piece, join our Facebook group or something. And then day three, so on. You can really be elaborate with your email sequencing here. So if you want, you might want to restrict them from opting in more than once, so they don't receive all these emails twice, just to make it a little easier on them. Okay, now that I'm done explaining that, then the second action right here is it checks to see if the order number's been shipped, pending, or canceled. Now, obviously, if they've gotten the insert, from a package, then it's been shipped. So this is just like extra protection to make sure that they're not canceling their order and then still getting the ebook. You could debatably say like it's not a big deal even if they do cancel their order. But yeah, this is just extra protections right here. This is another extra protections right here as well to confirm that they've ordered the right ASIN. So if they've bought, if you have multiple different products and then they have multiple orders, they can't essentially get the ebook from a different order that's not associated with the proper ASIN. If you want to bypass this, very simple, you can just click here, go like that, and that'll bypass that problem. But if you want to make sure that it's checking the right ASIN to make sure they've bought in the proper ASIN, it would just keep it like this, and then you would go into bot fields and you change the ASIN to match your ASIN that you want to confirm that they've purchased. So I'll go over that with you guys really shortly right now. So I'm just going to open up a different tab. I usually always do that whenever I want to go into the bot fields. So the first thing you want to do is you want to hit the cogs, right? So settings, then you want to go into fields, then you would go bot fields, and then we're looking up. The way I do this is I usually, just because I have a lot of bot fields, I'll actually take a look at it, and then I'll go Control C, all right, my bad, Control F, and then I'll start typing it out. Insert, oops, I think I wrote it wrong. Yeah, I said I should have had product in front. Product, insert. So there it is right here, guys. So as you can see, Control F worked. Usually you can either do like, Control C to copy it, and then Control V, Control F, then Control V to paste it in to the search bar here. That'll make it a little faster on yourself. But yeah, anyway, so right here, again, this is from my previous installation from a video or two ago. I just put in example ASIN here, and this is where you're actually going to want to put in your ASIN right here. Obviously, don't put in example ASIN because that's not going to work, but this is the ASIN of the specific product that you want to cross-reference to make sure that they've purchased. Again, theoretically, if they've bought the insert card and they scanned it, or they bought the product and they scanned the insert card, then you know that they've ordered it. But again, this is just additional protections to make sure that they purchased the right ASIN. Okay, so this is another action right here to just get some of their information, right? Their shipping information, as well as like their order status and so on. Or this one here is actually to get confirmation of other activities. So this is just, gets the retail price and how much they spent and stuff like that, and it captures it in custom fields. It's not extremely important because it's not really going to make a big difference. But again, if you wanted to have a Google spreadsheet insert a row at some point, this might be information that you want to paste inside that Google spreadsheet. So it's just something I figured I might as well put on, just seeing as if we can get the data, right? Might as well. So then the next thing it's going to want to ask is what's their email, and then it asks for their phone number, and it asks that they agree to receive promotional content from the specific page name. So whatever your page name is, it'll say page name there. Once they click I agree, then it opts them in. And then this is where it starts the flow right here, which actually sends them the ebook, which we'll go into shortly. And then it checks to see if they're on the blacklist. If they are on the blacklist, then it's going to make sure that it lets them know, okay, sorry, you've already gotten the ebook here. If they're not on the blacklist, then it's going to add them to the blacklist. Now, theoretically, like again, you don't necessarily need to be adding them or checking the blacklist, but if you want to keep the way this is, just by default, you would do nothing. But if you wanted to bypass the blacklist, you can just go like that. But yeah, so it's just an extra protection, a way to kind of protect yourself from getting them to opt in more than once. Okay, and then the last thing right here, this is where it opts them into the blacklist again. So we just make sure that the API key connection is properly set up, right? So we hit save, and I believe I did it right over here, but I'll just double check. It's okay, it's good. And like if you see that it's right, like 2 or 3 times, then chances are you don't have to do it to every single one. But I like to just make sure it's proper. And obviously I'm going through an overview video on how to edit this, so I want to cover every single point. Now, one of the optional steps is something that I definitely highly advise is inserting a Google spreadsheet row. So in terms of inserting a row, all you'd have to do is you click this, then you would go action, then you would go find the insert a row right here. Then you can insert a row to a specific spreadsheet to kind of keep track of all the users that are coming in and getting that free ebook. So that's just a good way to kind of keep track of how many people are coming in per day, so on. Something I advise you do, why it's not in there by default, is just because I didn't want to make it more and more complex. So I left it a little, I don't want to say bare bones, but I left it very lean and very simple to edit for everybody. So that way anybody can come in here and add additional things. Again, these are templates, so I'd highly advise you take them and you optimize them to match whatever goals and branding that you guys have in mind. Okay, so right after that, it gives them the confirmation that we've sent them an email saying, hey, we've sent an email letting you know that you should have received your free ebook. Now, if they click the got email, it just says, okay, thank you for letting us know. If they say didn't get the email, then it kind of goes through a troubleshooting where they go through a little bit of troubleshooting to figure out why they haven't got the email, whether it be maybe it's in junk folder, maybe they got to wait a little bit of time because it's a little slow. ManyChat does take a little bit of time there. And if for whatever reason they're not able to get the email through going through this troubleshooting, it'll actually give them the email link right here. So again, this is the bot field link that I was talking about previously in the video, where this link should be a link to the PDF file where they can just download it from there. And the last thing it does is as soon as they get this message, it actually goes to this looping flow right here to check to see if they can receive a review request. So the first thing it does, it goes to a time delay. And this time delay is that 1 day time delay that I talked about a little bit earlier on, that bot field that's connected to it. So essentially this bot field is just connected to a number, and it checks to see how long you want to wait before asking for a review or sending out a review request, a TOS compliant review request from Amazon. And ours by default was 1. So it checks to see after a day, then it checks to see, okay, can we send a review request? If the answer is yes, then it'll send that review request. If the answer is no, then it's going to go into a 1 day delay, and it's going to keep looping until the answer turns into yes. Again, you would want to check to make sure that this is connected properly, just like so. All right, it's neatly connected. Now, the review request, you want to do the same thing as well. Make sure that it's connected properly. And something that I would advise you do, again, not something that's in here by default, is set up an SMS right here. So you'd set up a little SMS. And the SMS is something fairly simple. And again, you can edit this to match your branding and so on. But it's just letting them know, hey, Amazon just left you an email regarding reviews. Would really appreciate if you took the time to leave a review. It says something like that. Obviously, I didn't paraphrase it properly there, but again, you should probably edit the scripts too, just to match your branding here. But again, you just send them a message saying, hey, Amazon sent you an email. We'd really appreciate it if you left a review, and then that's more or less it. The more emojis and the more text you have in your SMS, the more money they cost individually, right? So ManyChat does charge you per message you send out. So bear that in mind. They only do that, well, they don't only, but they do that for email as well as SMS. They don't do that for Messenger, but it's just something for you to keep in mind. You can even have this technically on a time delay and then say like, hey, Amazon sent you an email 2 days ago wondering if you've had the chance to leave a review yet. So that's something you can do, obviously. So again, these are templates, so you guys can edit it to your heart's content. In my case, I'm just going to leave it be. And then once you're done doing all of those edits, which again, if you really paid attention to exactly what I edited, I didn't edit a whole lot. In fact, I would say I basically edited nothing. I just made sure the bot fields were properly connected, and then I made sure that the Seller.Tools actions are, action calls are all connected properly as well. And everything else is kind of like an optional step or so on. Once you've done everything, and you're pleased with your edits, then you would hit publish. And there you go. Now the content's been published, and you can start running kind of traffic. If you want to test the flow, you could just go preview and then see how it goes. The next thing we want to do, and one thing I do advise when you do kind of finish editing one of these type of templates, is you just remove the astromeric's at the start. This is just to signify that it needs to be edited to work properly. And now you'll see that the email still has the astromeric's right here, so we want to edit this one to match our goals as well. So this one right here is the simple instructions, right? There's only one instructions, is to say, make sure the link works properly. So the ebook link is properly set up. So usually the ebooks that I've set up in the past were set up to a PDF file that was a clickable link that send them to kind of like it was usually hosted via like a website or something like that. You just host a PDF. And again, you don't have to have it hosted to like your website. It could be hosted via something else, but you essentially need to host a PDF file. So it's a clickable link, and then that link then needs to go into the bot field, and that's the link that when they click it, it sends them straight to that PDF file that they can download at any given moment. Now another thing you can do here, and it's a bit of a note, is you can edit the branding or the messaging to match your branding. So again, if that's something that interests you, you can of course do that. But the big thing with the ebook is just editing that bot field to match the ebook that you're sending them to. So in theory, if you've edited the bot field properly, then you've technically already edited this properly. So we're going to assume that is the case, that we've edited that properly. And now we are done with the ebook post-purchase template. So now you can set this up to your insert cards and have traffic start running in to your kind of post-purchase ebook template or flow. One thing I will say that I didn't mention, and I just want to zoom in on it a little bit, on the ebook side right here, on the S.T ebook post-purchase flow right here, you can actually add a footer flow right here. Actually, I didn't, I may have not mentioned it, but it's in the notes right here. is you can add a footer flow, meaning you can ask them to join a Facebook group, you can ask them to join your product tester club, you can ask them to do whatever kind of creativity, like, whatever scenario you want them to do. So this is definitely something I'd highly advise that you do, but again, it's not absolutely necessary, but something you can think of. So that is it, guys. That is how you edit the ebook post-purchase template.